Hello, this is Alexander Speed, and this is my Mastery Journal entry for Week 3's Design in Motion. For this video, I will be discussing the 3 most important concepts that I have learned from this course, one of which being sound design in general. In the text by Amber Case and Aaron Day, Designing with Sound, one of the key important parts of that chapter that I learned was the concept of how sound design can alter not only a person's taste buds, but also their way of thinking, creating emotional connections and also creating sentiments that otherwise can't be easily explained. This also goes into Brian Fu's New York-based study in which he used sounds and music to be able to alternate people's moods. Another concept that caught my attention is the concept of diegetic versus non-diegetic sounds. As explained by YouTuber Videomaker, he explains how non-diegetic sounds and diegetic sounds are implicated into many films, commercials, and other forms of media to create a sort of perception or an emotional connection with the audience. This can range from sound effects, music, or other things that can kind of blend together, such as the scene from Birdman. The second concept that I learned was the idea of rhythm and editing, which are 2 concepts that I'm very much familiar with due to my background in mass communications. Initially, my idea of rhythm was to follow the beats of a scene, but I felt as though this class I had learned a little bit more on how that goes. In a video interviewing Thelma Schoonmaker, she discusses how she worked with Scorsese in how to let a scene come to life, to not necessarily edit it to hell and back, but to essentially add a sort of breathability to it, to let a scene breathe, to let a scene work itself towards whatever it is that the audience is trying to gander from it. This is further elevated from an interview by Walter Murch in which he discussed how, the editing process went, how making his own scripts and trying to make his own films come to life was a struggle to do, but also a learning experience. In the editing that he's done over the years, he had basically learned that with editing, it's all about letting it breathe on its own, to let the scene itself tell you when to cut, when to add music, and when to, put in and put out dialogue. Sometimes it's all about the nature of the scene that matters more than you trying to control it. The third most important concept that I learned was the styles of motion graphics. And I had a preconceived idea of what motion graphics were, but further understood it once I had completed this week's course. I found myself understanding the differences between animation and motion graphics, in which motion graphics is all about information and then entertaining, whereas animation was entertain and then inform. And it's in this concept that I learned it a little bit more from Alberto Scaroso's video on the concept of motion graphics and how his company, The Left Channel, were able to build themselves up from a small ground-up studio to one that is now working with some of the most leading companies in the business. Those details were further evidenced by the text from Motion Graphic Design 3rd edition by John Krasner, in which he discussed how motion literacy is the key elements to how to make a design specifically work. Working with different elements, making sure every single part of the scene moves in correlation with what the message is trying to convey. And it's in that concept that I feel that I am able to understand motion graphics, sound, and also rhythm and editing, all of it accumulating together in order to be able to design something that can be worthwhile and remembered for long periods of time. So far, these are the concepts that I had learned, and these were the concepts that stuck with me even throughout these 3 weeks of learning about motion graphics and sound design. So far, I'm looking forward to the next classes that I take in which I'll be able to further my education and be a leading example in the industry of media design. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys again soon.